Over the course of the last few weeks, we're working through this series on blessings. We started it off and we were talking about God's blessings, and how many times we sit here and, the very first week we talked about what a blessing really was, and that it's not an object, it's not a thing, it's not a badge, it's not a present that we get to physically open up and be able to go, woo, look what I got, I'm blessed. God gave me this gift. God has given us a gift. And we learned that we've been talking about how that gift, how that blessing is a relationship with Him. That is the blessing. But out of that relationship comes certain things. Certain things that not only are they blessings that we get from Him, but that blessings that pass through us, that we may be able to be a blessing to the world around us at the exact same time. Like I said, because so many times we get these things mixed up. The world has a very mixed up understanding of what a blessing is. A lot of times it would just be restricted to, God's given me a good job, God's given me a nice house, God's given me all these things. I'm blessed. But what about those of us that don't have the nice house, don't have the expensive car, that don't have the dream job, that don't have the perfect family, the perfect kids, the perfect picture that the world likes to paint for us to say this is what a blessed life looks like? And then I think that's very interesting that we have a world that paints that picture, but they don't understand what a blessing is. They don't understand how to get that blessing. They may not even believe in the individual that can give us that blessing. But I think it shows us that the world maybe not doesn't have the right understanding, but they're seeking something. There's a desire within their hearts. I think we need to really truly understand what these blessings really are. Did you guys know that the word bless in various forms can be found in the Bible more than 500 times? More than 500 times the word blessings in some form or another is put in the Scriptures. There's at least 6 meanings for this word, including to confer happiness, to grant favor, to praise, or to glorify. Now, so far as we've been walking through this, we've talked about the blessings of presence. The blessings of what it can be just to be able to have God's presence with us. Maybe some of us we've experienced that here this morning already. We've experienced God's presence and what that can do for you. But again, not only what God's presence can do for us, but maybe what our presence can do for others. That in times of hurt, in times of need, sometimes it's just the blessings of presence that someone needs. Last week, we talked about the blessings of power. And that God has shown us His power already. He's mighty, He's great. We looked at creation and we see that He created everything. And then He blessed us. He blessed us with the ability to create alongside of Him. He gave us the ability to go out and to be able to multiply, to be able to fill this world. But then He also gave us, along with that, dominion. He gave us power and control over the world around us. And with that comes a responsibility. If you look at this, and you guys have seen, with every blessing that God gives us, there's another side to the coin. That God blesses us with something, but there's something in return that we are responsible for. Now this week we're going to be talking about the blessing of holiness. As I've shared many times before, growing up in the Nazarene church, I'm a 4th generation Nazarene. My kids are a 5th generation Nazarene. But I wasn't until I was in my late 20s, early 30s, when I truly finally got the right idea about what holiness was. I thought holiness was just me doing the right things, me following the rules, me living that life, that picture life. That same life that the world would maybe like to paint, to sit here and say this is what a blessed life looks like. that perfect kid, the perfect husband, the perfect everything. And I thought, well, that's holiness. That's me living that life. This is me, that this is the picture. I got it hung up on my wall, and it says, this is what I'm supposed to do. And this is the way it's supposed to look, and I need to do those things. And that's holiness. And I didn't have the right understanding about what holiness was and is to be. I grew up thinking that sanctification was something that I achieved. Almost like I had won an award, won a certificate, like I got to go to a ceremony, and they said, oh, here you go, you're sanctified. That it was something that it was a reward for living a holy life. That it was for being a good boy. Following all the rules. And I remember, I was a good little boy. I didn't go out and I didn't do all those bad things that a lot of times we hear about some of those heathen teenagers going out and doing and kids doing. I didn't go out and I followed the manual. I didn't go out and I didn't smoke. I didn't go out drinking. I didn't go out partying and gambling. I didn't go around and sleep around with all these girls. I didn't do all that type of stuff. I was a good boy. I followed the rules. I didn't cheat. I didn't help others cheat. I did my homework. I made good grades. I was respectful to my parents. I went to church on Sundays. Went to Sunday school. I did all those things. I even showed up to church all in my nice suit, all nice and pressed. And I had some fancy suits as a kid. I loved wearing suits as a kid. That was one of my favorite things, was Easter rolling around and getting to go out and buy a new suit for Easter. Getting to go up to church on Sunday and get to show off your nice new clothes, that nice new suit. All the ladies love showing off their hats. Look at my hat, look how big it is. And next year they got bigger. It seemed like that was the competition, see who could have the bigger hat. Who could have the fancier hat. But this showed that I thought that a holy life was completely up to me to live. And that sanctification, the absolute infilling. But the thing is, I thought this was the sanctification. I thought the infilling of the Spirit. All this stuff was a reward for me doing the right stuff. Now, we hear these terms, holiness, sanctification, etc. We hear, especially in the Nazarene church, we throw those terms around a lot. We hear about them all the time. I mean, hey, we are a holiness denomination. We got the market on this. But I think it's interesting. We think we have the market on some of these words and some of these things. But the problem is that there's a lot of other denominations now that are starting to get the same idea. And they're starting to kind of get on the same wagon we are. But they don't quite understand these terms either. Sometimes they don't understand them any better than we do. So I think so often many of us don't ever truly, there's so many of us we can end up not having the right understanding about these things and how they relate to our lives. You see, if we properly understand sanctification and holiness, we realize that they are a gift. They're a gift. It's not something I earn. They're a gift. Just like my salvation was a gift. I didn't earn my salvation. There's not, I don't think, anybody here that would sit here and say salvation is something that you earn. I think almost every Christian in this world would tell you that salvation is not something, grace is not something that you earn. Yet when we go to sanctification, we go to that next step, we have a tendency to start thinking in those terms and talking about it in those terms, or at least talking about it in a way that it gives that idea. We may not have ever meant for that to happen, but it does. We don't understand, we misunderstand, we misrepresent, and sometimes we even misuse these terms. Again, it's not anything always that's intentional. I look back at my life and I remember certain pastors in my life, I remember certain Sunday school teachers in my life, and I remember those people that helped convey these wrong ideas about stuff. And it was nothing, I have no reasoning, and I do not believe 1%, not even 1/1,000,000% that those individuals intentionally did that. That was not what they intended. it was an accident. It was a misrepresentation. They didn't understand how it was coming off. You see, we have to be careful because I believe there's three things that can happen if we don't properly understand this blessing of holiness. The first thing is we can begin to wear our holiness as a badge of honor or accomplishment. We can walk around and go, look at me. Yep, that's right, I'm sanctified. Remember that little badge when we act like, we may not even, we act and we walk around like we've got that little badge right there. We're like, yeah, check that out. I'm a sanctified believer. Check it out. It says it right there. I'm a sanctified believer. But unfortunately with that can become arrogance and self-righteousness when we do that. Because we're going to look what I earned. Look what I accomplished in my life. Look at the life that I'm living. It's all I. Me. The second problem that we can have is that not understanding this blessing is that the world hears this instead. Look at what God has done for me. Look at how He has blessed me because I was so good. And that leaves the world going, well, then what's wrong with me? That leaves other believers going, well, what is wrong with me? Why can't I do that? Why can't I experience sanctification? Why can't I live that holy life? You sit here and talk about all the great benefits of it. Well, why can't I? Why has God given you this and not me? We never intended for this, but this is what the world around us sometimes hears. The third thing is however, I believe the greatest problem with our understanding of holiness as a blessing is that we treat it like an object. When in reality, holiness, sanctification, it's not a thing. It's a relationship. It is a relationship with our loving Heavenly Father. It is impossible without that relationship. My holiness is His holiness living out through me. And that is impossible without that relationship. That's how it comes out, is through that relationship. Like I said, as we look back, we realize that as these blessings, that all these things that we receive, these blessings of presence, these blessings of power, these blessings of holiness, it's a byproduct of our relationship with God. That's what it comes down to. It's our relationship with Him. If we don't have a relationship with Him, there is no holiness. There is no sanctification. There is none of those things without a relationship with Him. There's none of those things. There's none of the benefits. We have to remember it's a byproduct of the number one thing, which is our relationship. But before we go even further down this trail, I want us to look at a passage of Scripture and let's see what God's words have to say about being holy. And so we're going to be in John chapter 17 this morning. And in John chapter 17, we're going to be looking, this is the prayer of Jesus. And so if you look in the book of John right here, in my Bible, it's got a whole bunch right from about 14 to 17. It's just pretty much almost solid red. Jesus, it's just words of Jesus over and over and over and over again. And this is the prayer of Jesus. And I'm going to start off in verse 13. We're really going to be focusing on verses 15 through 19. But we're going to start off in verse 13. It says, "Now I am coming to you. I told them many things while I was with them in this world, so they will be filled with my joy. I have given them your word, and the world hates them because they do not belong to the world, just as I do not belong to the world. But I am asking you," this is Jesus praying to His Heavenly Father, "I am asking you to take them out of the world. I'm not asking you to take them out of the world, but to keep them safe from the evil one. They do not belong to this world any more than I do. Make them holy by your truth. Teach them your word, which is truth. Just as you sent me into the world, I am sending them into the world. And I give myself as a holy sacrifice for them so they can be made holy by your truth. You see, if you read through that, and you read through that entire prayer, and you can tell it's right there, even in that one passage. Jesus' burden for this prayer is for his apostles. Those 11 apostles, those disciples who are going to carry on for him when he leaves. That's what this prayer is about. It's for those that he is leaving behind. He reminds the Father that the economy of grace, he reminds that the economy of grace is going to be entrusted to their care. That when we picture grace, a lot of times we picture and we talk about grace. Jesus, God, Christ, I mean, it's right there. We think that's our picture of grace, is that cross right there. But Christ was going, I understand, and he was saying, this is now going to be entrusted to us. We are entrusted with that message of grace. And not just the message of grace, but the economy, the giving of grace. How many times do we extend grace when we should? How many times do we forget to extend grace when we should? The whole economy, the whole giving and receiving of grace, it's up to us now. It's been entrusted to our care. And then Jesus, after this, he then reminds his Father that they have made the break with the world. They're no longer of the world. They are in the world, but they are no longer of the world. Same goes for us. If you are a born-again believer, you are no longer of this world. You are in this world, but you are not of this world. We have been broken free from this world. This world of hurt. This world of turmoil. This world that would want to just beat us down. We no longer belong to that. But we are in it, which means it can affect us. But we have to ultimately remember that we are not of this world. And then he finally prays that they may be sanctified. He says he wants to make them holy. This is Jesus' prayer. He's saying, I want my disciples, Lord, please sanctify my believers. You see, all of this prayer of Jesus, everything that has to do with this relates to the redemptive mission. This is the mission that we are still to carry on today. It is the redemptive mission. Redeeming lives with our Creator. See, this prayer was to prepare their hearts for the task at hand. That's what this was all about. This was preparing them for what was to come. And then, and very simply, in verse 19, simply states that Jesus sanctified for their sakes. Their holiness is not self-acquired. Their sanctification was given to them. This was a gift to them. Just like it's a gift to each and every one of us that wants it. It's there. It's not, it's one of those things we got to jump through all these hoops and connect all the dots and dot all of our I's and cross all of our T's just perfectly. If we want it, it's there for us. It's a gift that God is saying, please. And I said, I've had different images of this that have been put out there. I had to read a book one time, and I've shared this before. I read the book this one time that was by a Wesleyan theologian in the Wesleyan church. And he said that we have to wait on God's timing for sanctification. And I'm kind of going, Pentecost has already come and gone. The Spirit is here. There's no waiting. That gift is free to each and every one of us that wants it. What takes the time is us. It's not God that we're waiting on. God is waiting on us. God is waiting on us to sit there and go, all right, I'm tired. I'm ready to stop making all my decisions and everything be based upon what I want and what the world is telling me that I want. I'm done with all that. I'm going to quit making all these decisions, doing all this stuff based off of me. And it's us finally saying things that we have to understand is that holiness, to be holy means that we are set apart. That we are dedicated to God for a special purpose. That was what Christ was talking about in this passage. He was saying, make them holy. Sanctify them, Lord, so that they may be able to go out and do the mission. Set them apart from the world. Take them out of this world so that they may go into the world to do your work. We have been set apart. We have been dedicated for a special purpose. See, it's that second side of the coin. The first side of the coin is we get to experience that blessing of holiness, of sanctification. And for those of us that have ever experienced sanctification, it is a blessing. There is no doubt about it that it is a blessing. It's an incredible experience and life to live and lead being sanctified. The relationship that you get to have with God, the communion that you get to have with Him is unbelievable. Yes, it also saves us from some heartache in this world too, because it helps us start making some godly choices instead of worldly choices, and that saves us some heartache. But it is a true blessing. But the other side of the coin now says, you've been set apart for a mission. You have been made holy for a reason. It's not to stay held up in your church, to stay held up in your home, to be able to sit there from a distance and wave and go, hey, everybody, I'm holy, I'm sanctified. This other side of the coin, the other side we have to do is to go into the world. And I think this is incredible. Think about this one. Think about it from this perspective. God wants to set you personally. We're not talking about us as Christians. We're not talking about us as a church as Rose Hill. We're not talking about the Nazarene church. We're not talking about anything. God's talking about you. This is one of those times where you get singled out and you get pointed out. And God is saying, I have set you apart. I have set you apart for something special. Have you ever had somebody come up to you, put their arm around you and go, hey, I have an incredible opportunity for you. I have something special that only you can do. And I need you to do this. It is of vital importance. Can you imagine? Have you ever had that happen? If you haven't, could you imagine someone coming up to you and saying that, going, I have a special mission, and this is an incredible mission. And this is so important. This is life-saving. This is like James Bond Mission Impossible type stuff. This is, we have a mission. Are you willing to accept? But this is for you. This is for your eyes and your eyes only. I have set you apart for something special. Now, I understand that we can get a little confused here when we start wondering this question about holiness. When we say, I thought this was about God's blessing on us. And like I said, not something for us to go do for Him. But remember, holiness is a dynamic concept. Remember, God doesn't set us apart for no reason. He doesn't come to you and say, I've set you apart. And I'll get back to you later on at some point, maybe never, about the reason why I've set you apart over here. You go into this room, everybody else is going to stay in this room. And then it's like going to a doctor's office. My wife can testify to this one. She had that experience this week of sitting in the waiting room, or not in the waiting room, in the actual back in the little room. They take you back there and say, okay, we're separating you from everybody else. We're going to bring you back here. And then they forget about you. Yeah. Oh, doesn't that stink? We all sit there and all our blood starts to boil when we think about that. That's not what God does for us. We have been set apart for a purpose. And we find joy in fulfilling that purpose. We find a sense of God's peace in our souls when we complete that purpose. See, it's in living out our purpose that we discover the true meaning of being blessed. It's one of those things you can sit there and say, well, God had a calling on my life. It's not the calling that's the blessing. It's accepting the calling that is the blessing. I can sit there and say, God called me as a pastor. Aren't I blessed? God called me especially just to be a pastor. No. It's not the calling that makes us special. It's not the calling that makes it a blessing. And by the way, God calls each and every one of us. That just happened to be what my calling was. The blessing occurred when I accepted. See, that's where and why so many times we miss out on this blessing. We don't allow God to make us holy, or we want the blessing first. You know, it's one of those things, it's like we say, I want to see the cash up front, show me the goods. Give me this first, and then I'll go out and do this. We get them back, God's saying, no, that's not the way it works. It's not like you sit there and say, okay, God, show me heaven, show me my salvation, show me that I'm not going to go to hell, and then I will proclaim you as my personal Lord and Savior. It doesn't work that way. We all know it doesn't work that way. That's why we have a little word called faith. You have to have faith. So many times we can focus in on the wrong things. We completely and totally miss the important part of things. We get so focused on the little minute little details of something that we miss out on the whole picture because we're focused in on the little bitty details of stuff. We focus in on the wrong things. You see, it is set apart. It's being set apart to live among the pain and the suffering of this world. Obviously we're going to be affected by it. That was included in Jesus' prayer. We wouldn't ask for protection if there wasn't a need or anything to be protected from. Holiness does not mean we have this impenetrable protection field and suit of armor around us that nothing is going to affect us. We're still human. We still live in this world. My body still lives in this world. And it's still affected by this world. And I'm still affected by those in this world. The choices that others choose. I cannot stop another person from making the choice of getting drunk, getting behind the wheel of a vehicle and driving down the road, losing control of the vehicle because they pass out or they're just so drunk they can't see straight, and hit a car and kill an innocent individual. I can't stop that. You can't stop that. And God's not going to stop that because He's given us free will. Because He loved us. We live in this world and that can affect us. It means being fully engaged in the world, not being removed from it. And when I say that, fully engaged. Not partially, not going, oh hey, I got one foot in. Like, it's not the hokey pokey where you put one foot in and shake it all about. It's you got to be fully engaged. Going the whole way in. It's not partially, it's fully engaged in the world. Jesus, like I said, Jesus prayed for His disciples because He knew that they were going to be immersed in the darkness. They were going to be immersed and the world was going to be completely around them and all this evil was going to be surrounding them. All the temptations were going to be surrounding them. And we also live in a very hostile world that may not be the most receptive audience. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine the world not being the most receptive to the message of Jesus Christ? I know it shocks you, doesn't it? You're going, oh, I can't believe that. We live in a hostile world. We always have and we always will. The enemy's going to fight us. He doesn't want to hear that message. It's a whole lot less hostile than what it used to be. You don't have to worry about losing your head right now in the United States. But you might get screamed at. You might get chewed out. I don't know what you could be labeled something. Oh, the world likes to tell us that if you really truly follow the message of Christ, that you're a hater, that you're a bigot, you're racist, you're all these different things. That's because they don't understand it. They live in a hostile world. But they need to hear the message one way or the other. And it's not a, hey, did you hear the message? It's, hey, did you hear the message? Let me tell you the message. Again, it's that fully engaged. It's not the 1 foot in. It's not the, hey, let me tell you something. You know? It's like, you got something to hide. We don't have anything to hide. There's nothing to hide here. You come and examine our God. You come and examine our scriptures. You come and examine every bit of it. You're not going to find one bit of hate in any bit of it. And lastly, the world needs to feel compassion while also hearing the message of redemption. That's part of holiness. Is being set apart to help the world feel some compassion while also hearing that message. It's not just about the message, but it's also about the compassion. The message of redemption serves no purpose apart from those who need to hear it. So if you're not around individuals that need to hear it, can you say that you're participating in the message of redemption? Think about that. If you're not around anybody and talking to anybody or sharing with anybody that needs to hear the message of redemption, are you participating in the message of redemption? Are you fully engaged? So, if you haven't heard the message of redemption, it's a great one. And I'd love to tell you all about it. And I'm sure there's lots of people here that would love to tell you about the story of redemption. Because it's a good one. Or have you forgotten the message of redemption? Have you forgotten that we didn't deserve anything that God has given us? We didn't deserve our salvation. We didn't deserve our sanctification. We don't deserve holiness. We don't deserve anything. Have we forgotten that? Have we forgotten that message? Accept the blessing of holiness. Accept what He wants to give you here this morning. But also realize that there's more to just accepting it. It's not just a gift that you give. It is a gift that you get. It is also a gift that you give. It's a give and it's a take. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, as we talk about these blessings, as we talk about the great things, Lord, that you want to give us, Lord, the things that you have given us. Lord, I can't even begin to say thank you for the things that you've given me, for the things that you've done for me, and that you want to continue to do for me. But Lord, I also realize that you have called me, you have set me apart, and Lord, that's the prayer for each and every one of us here this morning. Lord, you have called us and set us apart, every one of us, for something special. And Lord, I'm glad to know that you have something special that you want me to do. And Lord, you don't also just even send me out to be able to do this unequipped and ill-prepared. Lord, you have my back during the entire time. Lord, you're there to protect me, and I thank you for that. You're there to help guide me when all I see is the darkness of the world around me, as I try to share the light with them. Lord, you're there with me, so that I don't ever forget and they don't try to snuff out your light in me. Lord, I thank you for that. But Lord, may I also honor and glorify you by accepting the call on my life, the call of holiness on my life, and that I may be fully engaged in this world, that I may be taken out of this world, but that I may live in this world and be engaged in this world for your good. Lord, give us the strength, give us the guidance, give us the direction, Lord. Thank you for this blessing, Lord. May our lives, may we do honor, may we do justice, the holiness that you have put inside of us. Lord, we thank you and we love you.
Let's stand and sing one last song.